Hello everybody. Today we're going to talk about face proportions. It's really important when you start to learn how to draw the face, to learn how big and small all the different features of the face are, to get them right the first time, and then really learn how to look at individual faces and see how they differ from kind of the average person. Here we go. First, let's talk about proportions and what that means. People have been studying proportions, especially on the face, for as long as people have been drawing. Here you see a drawing by Leonardo da Vinci, and you can see here his lines. You can see here his lines that really show what he found were the proportions of this particular face. You can see these angles that he's trying to find of the sizes of the ears to the eyes to the mouth, etc. Okay, and these lines in here are trying to get the angles of everything. What he is doing here is he's really looking at individual proportions for this specific person, because everybody has slightly different features. So, but there are some things that you can almost count on to be the same, and then if you look at somebody that you're trying to draw and they're different than those proportions, then you need to make sure that you capture those differences. Alright, so I'm using this word proportion. We just wanted to know, what does that mean? The word proportion means that you're drawing something the right size and the right shape and in the right place. So for example, if we look at this little superhero right here, you will notice that his head is way too big. Okay? And his legs are too small. Right? Right? His forearms are too big. And it's not just the right size, it's also the right shape. If you notice his head's got an odd shape to it, really pointy at the bottom and round at the top. And the whole body shape is a little odd. And also that it's in the right place. So maybe you might have an eye that's in the right shape or in the right place, but or the right size and the right shape, but maybe it's too high or it's too far to the left or they're too far apart. Okay? Or they're too close together. So the right size, the right shape, and then the right place is what we're looking for. So let's look at this picture. Here we've got some standard proportions, and on this one I mostly want to look at this picture down here. Okay, we're going to look at vertical relative sizes and shapes, and as well as horizontal ones. So here we see how the different features of the face separate vertically. Okay, whenever you're looking at a face, one of the things that people do the most is when they're drawing a face, they just tend to put the eyes right there, and then the nose right there, and their mouth right there. But in the reality, what we are doing, actually I can erase that here. What we are doing is we're really looking at a real person and where their eyes are. If we look at from top to bottom, the eyes are actually right in the middle. So if I go top to bottom, that's actually halfway. So that's half the distance from the top and from the bottom. That's right where the eyes are. Okay? Now I'm going to divide that space in half again. So then this space here, it's also going to be divided in half. Right? So we've got this half and that half. And right at that half is, there's the eyes. Right at that half is the bottom of the nose. Okay? And then the lips, often another mistake people make is when they draw the nose, they'll put the lips kind of halfway between the nose and the chin, but really the chin is much bigger. You wind up having a face that looks like it has no chin. So, for the chin, or for the lips, the bottom of the lips is halfway between the nose and the bottom of the chin. I'm going to do it in half. Halfway for the eyes, halfway again for the nose, and halfway again. I have to select it every time. Move that. Halfway again for the bottom of the lips. Okay, not the middle of the lips, it's the bottom of the lips. Right? So that's how we're going to divide the face up, top to bottom. I also want you to notice one extra thing, is that the top of the ears and the top of the eyes line up with the bottom of the nose. Okay? So that's the other thing to notice going top to bottom. Okay? Now, on the next slide, we're going to talk about dividing the face the other way. Here we see another face, and I always like to talk about the eyes first. If we look at these eyes, and the space in between the eyes and the size of the eyes, we can see that it's about the same. So the width of this eye and this eye is the same as the width between the eyes, approximately. Related to the size of the eyes is the size of the nose. So you notice right in the interior part of this eyes, the width of the eyes is typically the width of the nose. So we've got one eye width, then another eye width, and another eye width to get 3 eye widths for the eyes and the nose. Now for the mouth, the width of the mouth, typically you look at the pupils of the eyes, right, and you draw a line straight down, and that's usually the corner of the mouth. Now this is only true for a relaxed mouth. As soon as that mouth starts to smile, these corners are going to turn up and get bigger. And of course, individuals vary. So we're going to take a look at Miss Swift here as how her face compares to the average face. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and draw right on top of her. So let's take a look at some of her proportions. Let's talk about the vertical proportions first. So if we really look at her head here, if this is the top of her head, right, here's her chin, and we're going to try to divide that in half and see that that is where her eyes are. So top to bottom, boom, boom. So that's halfway. Okay. Now I'm going to divide it in half again and see that the bottom of her nose is halfway, top to bottom, from the between the eyes and the chin. And then I'm going to look at the bottom of the lip. And again, the bottom of the lip is halfway between the nose and the chin. Okay? That's top to bottom. In this picture you can't see her ears, although you can barely notice the bottom of this ear as it lines up at the bottom of the nose. Now let's talk about the width of the eyes. So I'm just going to draw vertical lines on the edge of that eye, on the edge of that eye, on the edge of that eye, and on the edge of that eye, right there. So if you look there, that's pretty close. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. Okay. Now I also, if I draw these lines inside the eyes here, that's pretty darn close to the width of the nose. Okay. So eye width, and then if I go out one more time again, if you look at to where the ears actually are, that's probably, if you could see the ears, they would probably go out to there. Okay, so she has a very standard face, very close to average. But you know, of course, that all faces are not average. Every face is individual. We will notice as we look at certain faces that the nose width is not the same as the width in between the eyes, or that the eyes are not on the same part of the face, or that if you look at the lips are slightly wider than the pupils. Okay, and of course the features change with age as well. So if we look at this young baby, that her nose is definitely wider than the space between the eyes just a little bit, and the mouth is a little bit smaller than right underneath the pupils. So every person is an individual, and we really need to look at the individual. So if you compare an individual to what the average is, then you can get it to start to look like somebody. So if you're drawing Barack Obama, you know that you need to draw the nose slightly wider than the average face. Same thing with the lips, slightly wider than the average face. Okay? And it's going to change from individual to individual. This face here looks kind of cartoonish, and part of the reason that looks cartoonish is the nose is smaller than the width of the eyes. That's a computer-generated image. Okay? But in any case, those changes will vary from individual to individual. Right? So, your task is to find a person and try to draw their face. First, draw an average face using the proportions that I've already talked about. Then, draw a face looking at somebody and noticing how that person's features differ from the average features. Good luck and enjoy your drawing.